government starts a process that could lead to the outlawing of a secessionist party. In the U.S., Republicans joined Democrats in condemning Trump over his comments at a news conference with Putin. And in Hawaii, a so-called lava bomb crashes through a tour boat's roof, leaving almost 24 people injured.
Good evening and welcome. For the first time since the 1997 handover, the government is looking into banning a political party's operation in the name of national security. Sharon Tang reports.
The security chief confirmed today that he was asked by a society's officer in the police force to issue a prohibition order against the Hong Kong National Party, a political group that promotes Hong Kong independence. Here's why.
That the society's officer must reasonably believe that in the interest of national security, public safety, prevention and protection of the rights and freedoms of the others, then in the interest of these things, then he can make the recommendation.
Lee is now giving the party 21 days to provide him written representations to explain why the order shouldn't be made. He also stressed that he'll comment on this individual case only after the deadline and decide if he will issue the order. Pro-establishment lawmakers welcomed the government's move today.
It's reasonable because all along the Hong Kong National Party has been advocating Hong Kong independence. The definition states clear. National security means the territorial integrity of the People's Republic of China.
But Pan-Democrats worry that it would further limit people's freedom.
A law that was supposed to be targeting criminal activities in the beginning was finally used for the first time to target political dissent. And in a way, this is actually directly in contradiction to many of the freedoms that were guaranteed to us under the Basic Law.
If the party ends up being banned, it will become an unlawful society. Those who attempt to provide aid or induce another person to become a member of an unlawful society would face up to 2 years in jail. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
A strong wind signal, number 3, is now in force. A warning was issued at 4:20 this afternoon. Tropical storm Son Tin is currently about 300 kilometers south of Hong Kong and is continuing to move west towards Hainan Island. The observatory is warning of occasional squally showers tonight and tomorrow. It's also advising the public to stay away from the shorelines because of possible waves and swells.
Son Tin will be closest to Hong Kong in the next few hours, skirting at about 300 kilometers to south of the territory. With local winds turning to east, winds will strengthen gradually. Based on the current forecast track, the chance of issuing gale to storm signal number 8 is rather low.
Over to Finland now, where a summit took place between U.S. President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin. While Putin agreed to help with issues concerning North Korea and Syria, Trump is disgusted at all the media cares about is the Russia collusion witch hunt. After Trump and Putin met behind closed doors for 2 hours, instead of asking what the two accomplished, Trump was asked why he blames his own country for a decline in relations with Russia.
I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish.
Trump sides with Russia and blames the Mueller probe to determine if his administration colluded with the Kremlin to win the presidency.
I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. There was no collusion at all. That was a clean campaign. I beat Hillary Clinton easily.
Then Putin was asked why should anyone believe the Kremlin when 12 people were just indicted in his own government for hacking into the Democratic National Convention during the 2016 election. Putin said you can't believe anyone. But Putin did admit he wanted Trump to win the election because of Trump's desire to normalize relations with Russia. Putin also made an offer that Trump praised as a good idea.
And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people.
Asked if Putin has any compromising information on Trump or his family, Putin laughed the question off. He admitted he's heard only allegations that Russia has blackmail-worthy material on Trump. Trump left the Helsinki summit disgusted with the media. He insists the duo accomplished a great deal on agreeing to work together on global concerns, yet all the media whined about was the Russia collusion probe.
Thank you.
Well, reaction to Donald Trump's extraordinary news conference with Vladimir Putin continues to flood in. U.S. lawmakers from both the left and right are expressing confusion, outrage, and disbelief. In the aftermath of the joint news conference in which Trump appeared to align closely with Putin, critics were quick to pounce. On Twitter, Arizona Senator John McCain was one of the most outspoken Republicans, declaring it was one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president in memory. Also on Twitter, former CIA Director John Brennan said Trump's news conference exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors, adding it was nothing short of treasonous. Trump refused to publicly condemn Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election or warn against future meddling. But at least one Republican lawmaker echoed Trump's criticism of the special counsel probe.
I think for the president to cast doubt is appropriate. I don't
cast doubt on the U.S. intelligence community.
Cast doubt on the validity of any number of these things. That's fair. Having said that, Putin is an evil man who has killed many people in his own country.
But Democrats say Trump seems to be acting in the interest of Putin.
You can't stand up in front of the Russian leader that has assaulted with cyber attacks your country and stand there and say that the intelligence community's report that was unanimous is not correct and that the Russian president was correct. This is just, it's bewildering. It's mind-blowing.
Meanwhile, pressure is increasing on Republicans to join Democrats in standing up to Trump.
If we wait much longer, our global alliances will fracture. The institutions that America created in the wake of World War II will crumble. Our allies will consider abandoning us, possibly for China and others. And Putin's Russia will emerge stronger for it. Silence here is not acceptable.
Thank you very much.
Amid the bewilderment, a former ambassador to Russia says for Trump, the substance of the summit is not as important as the show.
Merely being in the headlines, regardless of how he got there, is the most important thing he can achieve. And the U.S. vital interests in any particular problem are secondary considerations to the promotion of Trump as the major actor.
Almost 24 people were injured in Hawaii after a blob of hot volcanic lava struck an ocean tour boat. They were part of a group that tried to see Kilauea volcano's lava spew into the ocean. Peter Coveos tells us more.
Thrill seekers in Hawaii got more than what they paid for on Monday morning. Passengers witnessed a lava bomb explode right in front of them. They returned to dock, but their boat was damaged.
Particles of the lava actually landed on the vessel, damaged most parts of the vessel. From what I heard, actually a big chunk fell through the roof and partly on passengers.
One woman had to be taken to hospital for a broken leg. 22 others suffered minor injuries. A lava bomb occurs when molten lava mixes with cold seawater. People pay about $200 per person to hire tour boats in Hawaii to view this phenomenon, but usually from a much farther distance of 300 meters. Some experienced operators have special permission and can get as close as 50 meters. After Monday's explosion, that exception has been suspended.
And still ahead in our newscast. Theresa May bows to pressure from Brexit supporters in Parliament. 28 Uber drivers fined for taking passengers without the necessary permit. And a sneak peek at this year's Hong Kong Book Fair.
Welcome back to TVB News. British Prime Minister Theresa May has bowed to pressure from hardline Brexit supporters within her Conservative Party in order to keep her strategy to leave the European Union just about on track. But by accepting amendments to a customs bill put forward by the hardliners, she has further exposed her vulnerability in Parliament. Jeff Tang reports.
The ayes to the right, 305. The noes to the left, 302. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
And with that, British Prime Minister Theresa May's government barely avoided an embarrassing defeat on a customs bill she proposed. But that's only after the beleaguered leader bucked under pressure from within her party and accepted 4 amendments to her original bill. The amended bill prevents Britain from collecting tariffs on behalf of European Union nations unless the EU does the same for the UK. This, as May's recent white paper outlining plans for a common rulebook with the EU over trading goods, infuriated Eurosceptic lawmakers who favour a complete break even if it risks an economic shock. They slam her plan for keeping Britain's close ties with Europe. May's compromises put her already vulnerable position in Parliament on even shakier ground. That came after she lost her party's majority in an ill-judged election last year. Analysts say Conservative lawmaker Jacob Rees-Mogg, who heads the party's research arm that proposed the amendments, is now effectively running Britain. However, the government denied such suggestions. A Downing Street spokesman said the government accepted the amendments because it sees them as consistent with the Prime Minister's plan. But critics beg to differ. They said the changes would severely limit May's ability to move forward with her hard-won Brexit plan, which has already prompted the resignations of 2 hardliners in her cabinet last week. They are Brexit Minister David Davis and Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson.
Britain's electoral watchdog has fined the officially designated pro-Brexit campaign group £61,000 for breaching spending rules in the 2016 referendum. It has referred the case to the police. 2 years after the 52-48 vote to leave the European Union, the UK, the political elite and businesses remain deeply divided over whether the country should split from the trading bloc at the end of March next year. Opponents of Brexit claimed the campaign to leave the EU cheated in the referendum, but the Electoral Commission said its probe was only focused on campaign spending violations. The Commission says the vote leave worked with another group called Believe, which spent £675,000 with Aggregate IQ. That's a company which used social media data to target voters.
The Housing Authority's Subsidized Housing Committee has approved a 10% rent hike for public housing tenants starting in September. This would mean an average $188 increase in rent for around 770,000 households at public housing estates. Meanwhile, several groups protested outside the Housing Authority's headquarters. They slammed the committee for ignoring the needs of the grassroots and demanded the rent increase be shelved. 28 Uber drivers were found guilty of carrying passengers without the necessary hire car permit. All drivers were charged with 1 count of driving a motor vehicle for the carriage of passengers for hire or reward. Some were arrested in a police undercover operation conducted between April and June of last year. The others were caught after passengers filed complaints about their services. A magistrate found the drivers had carried their passengers solely to secure payment. They were slapped with fines ranging from $3,800 to $4,500.
Police college student sustained leg injuries after his gun accidentally discharged. The incident happened at around 3 p.m. during a shooting practice. When the student was putting his revolver back into his holster, he accidentally pulled the trigger, with the bullet hitting his leg. He was taken to Queen Mary Hospital for treatment. Sources say the student has already gone through 18 weeks of training and was wearing a bulletproof vest at the time. Well, the construction of the express rail link connecting Hong Kong to the mainland is mostly completed, though it is slated to open in September. As Christy Leung reports, the MTR Corporation still hasn't revealed ticket details.
Just how many trains will be traveling between Hong Kong and major mainland destinations such as Beijing and Shanghai? This question remains unanswered by the MTR Corporation, though the express rail link is slated to open in September.
On regular occasions, there will be a formulation of timetable for the whole network. And going forward, there still be occasion that people can adjust. But of course, it will based on the usage and based on customer experience.
In April, the MTRC began trial tests on the express rail link traveling from the West Kowloon terminus to Futian Station in Shenzhen, as well as to Guangzhou South Railway Station. MTRC said the construction work is mostly completed. Water seepage problems in the terminus concourse are less serious now, but they have also discovered some issues with the wheels.
When we identify the issue of the wear rate of the wheels is higher than we expected, we adjust the rail lubrication, and the wear rate of the wheels have been stabilized.
In the future, public transport hub will be set up in the terminus together with 500 parking lots. There will also be footbridges and subways which link up the terminus with Tsim Sha Tsui and Jordan.
Since the express rail link terminus is not connected to any other MTR lines, travelers will need to make a 4-minute walk via this footbridge from the terminus to Austin Station, which is the closest station. Christy Leung, TVB News.
Mainland-born scholar Zhang Xian took the helm at the University of Hong Kong today. The 54-year-old renowned scientist said he's happy and honored to report to work on his first day. Succeeding Peter Matheson, Zhang is the 16th Vice-Chancellor of the university, adding that he looks forward to hearing from different stakeholders of the HKU. Zhang has high hopes for the institution.
We are going to build a great university here that is not only train and prepare our next generation of leaders, but also to make a societal impact in Hong Kong, Greater China, and the world.
And the annual Book Expo will begin tomorrow for 6 consecutive days. Despite the possibility of bad weather, the organizer still expects up to 1 million visitors. Kina Chu has more.
The 29th edition of the Hong Kong Book Expo will open its doors to the public tomorrow and run until July 24th. Organized by the Hong Kong Trade and Development Council, this year's expo will feature 680 exhibitors from 39 countries and regions, making it the biggest of its kind.
We are very glad that through the support of several consulates in Hong Kong, including the French, the Spanish, they have been helping us to bring in a lot of renowned authors joining us, and we have been organizing several seminars so that those renowned authors have a chance to meet up with their audience.
In view of the mediocre economy this year, this seller says they're already planning to give out big discounts and more freebies to boost sales. With romance being this year's theme, visitors can find handwritten book drafts and rare belongings of 10 romance novelists at the Expo's Love Between the Lines exhibition. On top of that, visitors can also enjoy 3 other exhibitions, namely the Photo Gallery of Silk Road, A Journey to Zhejiang, and a gem of Chinese culture, Cantonese opera. To enhance visitors' experience, the organizer has introduced a mobile phone application to help users navigate the book fair. Kena Chu, TVB News.
From all of us